So news has been pretty quiet on the Disney front of late. With every park but Disneyland and Hong Kong Disneyland open, we here on the West Coast have been doing nothing but waiting, really, waiting to hear about our future at Disneyland. In the meantime, we've been able to observe for quite a while now, longer than I was expecting we'd be able to. We've been able to observe Walt Disney World in Shanghai and even the Universal parks to find out how those parks that are open are managing. And from a long view, things seem to be going okay. It's, I haven't heard any sort of terrible news, nothing drastic. The parks are operating, sometimes quite busy, sometimes not. There are some failures here and some wins there. It's not, but it's normal operations. Even for a regular Disney park, pre-COVID, there were ups and downs. So I feel like the lack of news coming out of Walt Disney World or Shanghai or even Universal, as I mentioned, is probably a good sign with respect to how the parks are managing. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the current state of Disney parks, both on the East Coast and here on the West Coast. And this first bit of news, while not strictly speaking Disney related, does relate to the Disney company quite a bit. And that is that over the weekend, last Saturday, the state of California formally stated that Orange County, the county in which Disneyland is located, was officially off the state's watch list. Now, at first blush, this seems like it's pretty good news, and it probably is, or at least it's not bad news or no news at all. It's something. Yes, Orange County is off the watch list, and that's because they have been demonstrating positivity rates below the requirements set by the state of California. The state asked for it to be at or under 8%, and Orange County has been running in the mid-5s. I think the last one I saw was 5.4%. So that's good. That's really good. But, there's always a but, they have to maintain this position for another 2 weeks before the state will give any sort of additional guidance or new criteria for things like theme parks to operate. In other words, we're still on the watch list for at least another 2 weeks anyway. But nothing really has changed. We're still being observed. We're still waiting. And it's kind of funny because the formal announcement that I saw on Twitter was kind of a troll. They were kind of trolling those of us who are watching this very closely because they said, yeah, you're off the watch list, but there's no change in guidance. There's no change in criteria. Nothing has changed at all. So just keep doing what you're doing. It just seems kind of silly to do this 2-week thing. Like either we are or we are not allowed to open things up in the state or in the county. So there's that. So far so good. It's kind of good news. And this does segue into our next bit of news information that came up in the last week or so. And that is that Disney has stated formally that they are going to reinstate executive salaries to the levels that they were at prior to the shutdown. Now, without getting into the politics of whether or not Disney should do this, it does beg this one question, and that is, what does this mean? After all, it was just a few weeks ago that we were reporting on rumors that Disney was on the brink of a major meltdown in the executive offices. Talks of infighting, power struggles, people taking sides. It was Iger versus Chapek. And it wasn't going to be long before there was going to be major layoffs and major downsizing. Oh my gosh, cats and dogs living together. Then we got the QT earnings and things suddenly didn't look so bad. It wasn't great. We weren't doing fantastic, but it wasn't as bad as many were predicting. In fact, they were even saying that Walt Disney World was reporting at a very slim profit. Apparently, they're in reasonably good enough shape to restore executive salaries. So what's changed in the last month, I wonder? Logically speaking, one has to assume that this news has created some sort of confidence. What information have they gathered that gives them the confidence to do something like restoring executive salaries? Especially within the context of the prior news or rumors going around that they were going to do major downsizing. And that included in the executive offices. So that's got to be it then, right? In 2 weeks, you're going to be off the watch list, and that has given Disney some confidence. Is that what it is? It seems like a reasonable connection to make. Maybe. See, a couple days ago, news spread quickly that many Disney cast members received notices that their furloughs were going to be extended. And the thing that struck me in that notice was that they referenced 6 months specifically, that they weren't expecting for cast members to be out of work for 6 months. Except that it hasn't been 6 months. It's been a little over 4.5 months since the initial work furlough. So they're talking about it being even longer. They're putting that somewhere in October now, a return to work for those cast members. Now, actually, that's not so bad because we were all kind of hearing or hoping for something in September. There was a rumor about Labor Day, but I'll take October if that's where we are now. I would take October today. It would give us a shot at some Halloween theming, Halloween decorations in the park, until you consider this rumor. Rumor has it that Disney is considering skipping the Halloween season altogether and opening the park for the Christmas holiday season, which would actually be November 1st, really, or sometime in early November. That is, of course, that they're permitted to open, but I mean, that does seem like a given at this point. I feel like we're on the home stretch on that part of it. Now, I don't know what the logic is for that possible decision, that is to open in November as opposed to October, but I suspect it has something to do with maybe them not wanting to install a Halloween theme or decorations and then do a quick change just a few weeks later for a holiday or for a Christmas season overlay. Maybe, I don't know. That's conjecture. Personally, I'd rather they not. I don't think it takes too much trouble to install Halloween decorations and then take them down and put up the Christmas season decorations. I mean, they do it every year anyway, so what's the difference? But, I mean, what do I know? I don't make those decisions, and surely there are people who know better than I do already working for the Disney company. Now, let's take that possibility, a November opening, and check that with the other news that we heard recently, and that was that Disney feels like they're 4 months away from Avengers Campus being open. This puts this new land, Avengers Campus, outside of any projected opening, be that September, October, or November. 4 months from now puts it in December. But, and this seems to be a running theme in this news segment, but Disney has put out a formal casting call for stunt performers for Avengers Campus to be doing, the rooftop stunts that we've heard about, Spider-Man, Captain America, etc. Now, I don't have the first idea how long it takes to train and rehearse for roles of this nature, for stunt roles like this out in the open in Avengers Campus. So it's very possible that now is exactly the right time to start casting for a December premiere. But again, this does feel like good news, at least, either way you look at it, that Disney does feel like there is a positive outlook and that they are preparing for some kind of opening before the new year. Now, one side note on this discussion as it pertains to DCA, I had heard a rumor, I had heard talk that they may not open DCA at all. They may open only Disneyland because they were short of cast members. Many cast members were choosing not to come back, and they weren't able to, or they don't have enough staff to fill both parks. And so, obviously, the choice is to open Disneyland, and they were going to have to draft cast members from DCA over to Disneyland. And that seemed like a logical thing to consider. However, if they're hiring cast members for stunt shows, be that in October, November, or December, it does sound like they are planning to open DCA at the same time as Disneyland. And if you may recall, actually, this sort of decision, whether or not they should or shouldn't, was kind of that was part of the infighting that was occurring in Walt Disney World. Now that I think about it, there was a camp that wanted to open just Magic Kingdom, or maybe just Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom, but not open Epcot or Hollywood Studios, or any combination of those two. But I thought I remember hearing Animal Kingdom and Disney or Magic Kingdom specifically. But it doesn't make sense for them not to open Hollywood Studios because of all the new stuff that they got there, Galaxy's Edge, etc., Mickey's Runaway Railway. So it may have made more sense to open maybe Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios and leave Epcot and Animal Kingdom closed. There's another camp that said, no, we're going for everything. We're just going to go for it, the whole thing. And that was that was where the disagreements occurred because they didn't have enough cast members, perhaps, to do all of this. They couldn't justify the expense of getting all 4 of those parks ready for just a few guests, as we were seeing in the early stages of the parks. So that is still a possibility. I think there may still be some talk like that here on the West Coast at the Disneyland Resort. But as I mentioned, the fact that they're talking about hiring stunt performers does suggest to me that their plan is to open DCA. Maybe not right away. Maybe they are going to wait till December. That would be a good decision, in my opinion, actually. As I reflect on that, it might be a good idea to open Disneyland in November, and then open DCA later on in December when Avengers Campus is ready, because I feel like it's a bit of a letdown. It really is a bit of a letdown. That's the kind of thing that you open a park with, Avengers Campus. That's the kind of thing that draws people in. The last thing you want after we've been closed for 6 months is for there to be no buzz. And there would be a bit of a letdown, in my opinion, mentally, if people were to go to DCA with the expectation that Avengers Campus would be open, because after all, it was supposed to be open by now. It was supposed to open a few months ago, or a couple months ago. So I don't know if I have nothing to base this on. This is just my own personal thoughts on the matter. But I think it would be wise for them to wait until Avengers Campus is ready. Now, having said that, I've also heard talk that they are planning to open Avengers Campus. Wow, this is just going in so many directions right now. It's going in so many directions. That they were going to open Avengers Campus before the whole land was ready. Kind of like how they did Tomorrowland when the park opened in 1955. You're going to get to look at it, but you aren't going to actually get to do anything. You won't be able, well, you might be able to ride Spider-Man, because I have a feeling Spider-Man is nearly there, because that was the very first thing they started working on. So there's that hope. We might be able to ride Spider-Man. But that there was a chance that they might open Avengers Campus before it was completely done. All right, now we're going to wrap this with this interesting statement from Josh D'Amaro, president of Disney Parks. Josh D'Amaro said this on the Dow Report just a couple days ago, and that is, we're ready to open. They're ready. They've been ready. They're just waiting for the state of California to tell them to go ahead. And this should, I think, put to rest any sort of notion or conversation that Disneyland or the Disney company wasn't ready to open Disneyland. That, for any number of reasons, that the park wasn't ready, that they were concerned about the safety of guests vis-a-vis Disneyland being a much more compact, intimate location as opposed to the wide open spaces of Walt Disney World in Shanghai, where it's easy to keep social distance. So they were still trying to figure that out, or that they were having trouble with the unions or anything like that. No, all of that stuff, apparently, considering Josh D'Amaro's confidence in saying this, all of that stuff has been figured out. Disneyland is ready to open. We just need to hit the start button. And if anything, of all the things that we've discussed here, that was mostly good news, colored with a little bit of, hesitation or hedging, of all the things that we've talked about, that, to me, gives me the most confidence that not only is Disneyland ready, because Josh said so, and Josh, to my estimation, seems to be a stand-up guy. I like him very much. But it also seems to suggest that they know something, and or that they are prepared for something like that to happen. We're supposed to be getting guidance from the state of California on Friday about how, what the next steps are in terms of who can open and when. Who being, all manner of things: restaurants, malls, theme parks, sporting events, that kind of thing. So we're probably going to get some news on that as early as Friday on that. So I feel like it's a reasonable assumption that Disney was part of that conversation or were involved in those talks. They're not in the dark by any stretch, I don't think. As a matter of fact, they've got somebody on the board, Disney does, in Florida, about the reopening of the state There's a board for that, a committee, as it were, and a Disney exec is on that board. And I would imagine the same to be true here in California. Now, obviously, California is operating under a different mindset than Florida, but still, I have to believe that there are certain entities that are being kept well informed of how things are operating or what kind of decisions are coming from the state of California. And there you go, guys. Disneyland is ready. Disneyland wants to open. Disneyland will open. They're just standing by. As is Fresh Baked, we're standing by here to bring you any news as it develops on this topic or anything else for that matter. In the meantime, thank you guys very much for watching. We would love it if you could like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. Please also be sure to subscribe to our sister channel, Fresh Baked Presents, where we do news and opinion. We do a live stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, unless something happens where I don't get to do it, but every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Fresh Baked Presents at 4 p.m. Pacific. And you can also follow us on our personal, our home vlog, The Royal Dorks, myself and Liz. We do vlogs from home. If you haven't checked that out yet, here's a little bit of what you might be missing. What? Oil of boil and a dead man's toe. Dead man's toe?
At Starbucks, ice for Dunkin'. But this is still really, really good.
That's a sound
This is delicious.
So I finished that one.
Dude. Okay,
I finished that one.
For your wife? Thanks.
You better get that thing out of my face or I'm going to finish that one.
I'm going to finish that one too.
And if you let me, I'll finish that one over there too. Yeah. And finally, if you like our show and you want to show your support to Fresh Baked, you can do so by joining our Patreon campaign. That's at patreon.com/freshbaked. There are links to those channels and Patreon on our home channel or on our homepage, on the main channel page, and in the description below. Otherwise, thank you again very much for watching, you guys. We love you, and we'll see you next time. Fresh Baked.